Welcome to the Darkstream. Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and of course, Supreme Dark Lord. So this is going to be a very short one because I don't have much battery on the iPad remaining. But I wanted to make it very clear, since I watched Andrew Torba's recent Gab TV. I have absolutely no intention whatsoever of suing Gab. I do, however, intend to fully pursue the three individuals who quite clearly libeled and defamed me as both a pedophile and a producer of child pornography. Those are accusations that no parent can possibly allow to stand uncontested. Any parent who is subject to those accusations is allowing an excuse for Child Protective Services to get involved in their families' lives. Now, obviously, that's really not an issue for me, given that I don't live in the United States, but I am not going to permit that to stand. I've already seen situations where accusations made in one site end up circulating into the mainstream media at the New Republic and NPR and that sort of thing. Now, just so you understand, there is an actual legal legion of evil. We have a number of attorneys all around the country, including in Texas. And so what I meant when I was referring to Gab is that due to the way that the process works, it is going to be necessary. We don't know who these people are. We don't know what their actual identities are. Gab knows at least one of them because one of them is pro. They possibly know, they certainly have identifying information in regards to the others. Now, I had originally requested that the material simply be taken down and so forth. That's against Gab's principles. That's fine. I respect that. They said to go ahead and bring it, and so that's exactly what we're doing. We've already, the legal legion has already met. There's a specific process. I believe it's Travis County, if I remember correctly. There's a specific process, and it's absolutely fine for Gab to stick to its guns and wait until they receive the necessary subpoena in order to proceed with that. I don't have any problem with that. It's, just because somebody doesn't handle something the way that I would handle it doesn't mean that they don't have any right to do it that way, and so, I've already put in a request. That initial request was obviously rejected. So, we just go to the next step in the process. It's not a big deal. It's not a lawsuit and so forth. And so, I would just encourage everybody to settle down. I have to admit, I did send Andrew an email apologizing for any irritation this might have caused him. He sounded pretty. He sounded less than enthralled in that Gab TV video, and I understand that. This is not something that any CEO of any startup wants to deal with. But the reality is that this is something that any social media site that allows that much commentary and doesn't do any moderation was going to have to deal with at some point in time. And so I think it's actually good that in this particular case they can sort out some of their sort out some of their processes and methodologies while dealing with a friendly counterparty rather than a hostile one, as the commenter just said. And so I just want to make it very clear, I have absolutely no intention of suing Gab. I don't consider them responsible for the libel and defamation that some of their users have posted there. They're protected by law anyhow, so it wouldn't matter what I thought anyhow. But I just want to make it clear because some people seem to be confused. There is a lot of confusion between an officer of the court's subpoena, a court subpoena, a court order, and a lawsuit. These are all different things, and a legal filing. And so I just want to make it very clear that, that this is not, quote unquote, suing Gab. I should have phrased it differently, But honestly, I didn't, until I had not talked with the Legal Legion. I had not talked with the Legal Legionary in Texas, and so I did not know what the correct terminology is. And so, my fault. And again, also, I don't think that I handled it particularly well, mostly because I sort of, I often make a mistake of assuming that people will see things the way that I do. If I'd been in that position, knowing that the subpoenas and all that stuff are the alternative, and not wanting people like that on my site, I would have handled it very differently. And so I just sort of assumed, well, they're not going to want to deal with this stuff. They're not going to want to deal with this. But I shouldn't have assumed that. And also, my code of giving people fair warning before I act sometimes doesn't work out very well when other people are involved. I probably should not have warned them. Well, I didn't warn all of them. I just warned the first guy. I said, I'll give you 10 minutes to take that down, or else I'm going to report it to A. Now, maybe I should have said, report it to support. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. But I probably shouldn't have given the guy any warning. I mean, he had committed the libel. Now, in the reality, this is probably never going to come anywhere near a courtroom, because in Texas they have what's called a Mitigation of Defamation Act, which means that even once we get the identities, before we can file a lawsuit, we have to give them the chance to write a letter. We have to write them a letter and give them the chance to recant and apologize and all that kind of stuff, which by the time that we've gone through subpoenas and this and that and the other thing, they are probably going to be inclined to do. Of course, there's also, but then again, there's also the possibility, or even the probability, that none of these people are in Texas, in which case, the Defense and Mitigation Act will not matter, and so, we'll just have to see where they are. If I'm lucky, one of them will be in the UK. But that's neither here nor there. The main point that I want to make is that I have no problem with Gab. I'm not suing Gab. I'm not upset with Gab. Yes, in the meantime, the smear is sitting there, but I think at this point it is very clear that I am contesting it. And that's the important thing. Frankly, I very much doubt there's a single person in the world who believes the charge. Actually, the interesting thing is Britain would not be the worst place for them to be. The absolute worst place for them to be, as far as I can tell, is in Switzerland, because that sort of libel is actually criminal in Switzerland. What happened is a couple of three Andrew Anglin supporters publicly claimed on Gab that I am a pedophile, and they claim that I am producing child porn. You know, it was interesting because when I talked to the first lawyer in the Legion about it, he actually choked and started laughing when I told him that, because he said, yeah, that's definitely libel. And so, anyhow, no, it doesn't matter whether they are trolls or whatever. I'm honestly not particularly mad. I mean, you know, this is just, you know, you got to keep in mind, I've been, you know, getting publicly accused of all kinds of ridiculous stuff for, 16 years now? And so, you know, when I see something like that, you know, after the initial flash of anger, then, you know, you just do what you do. And so, you know, I understand that they are probably, you know, fairly young guys. They are used to people posturing and that sort of thing. I'm not posturing. The Legal Legion of Evil does actually exist. 3 of them are actually extremely high-powered lawyers. You know, very respected in their fields, very good at what they do. And, you know, this sort of thing is not new for me. You know, my personal attorney, he's not a member of the Legion, but he interprets the stuff the Legion tells me. Then they, you know, then it's, yeah. Actually, I think I need to revise, now that I know a lot more about the defamation rules, I think I probably need to revise that section of SJWs Always Lie. You know, context is important, and so, you know, it's one thing to, if somebody is, you know, falsely accusing you of something and you falsely accuse them, that's, you know, that's usually not going to fall into that whatever, but Popat, I actually very much doubt that Popat would try to defend these. The legal precedent is very clear everywhere, from Texas to Australia, Canada, Britain. You know, the awards range from £10,000 in the UK to 13.8 million in Texas for similar defamation. And so, you know, there's no such thing as an absolutely